Deep within the walls of the Vatican City, there lies a dark and unsolved mystery. For 40 years, the disappearance of 15-year-old Emanuela Orlandi has remained shrouded in secrecy, giving rise to countless conspiracy theories and speculation of church involvement. But now, in the shadows of the Holy See, something is stirring. Join us as we find out how the Vatican has reopened the case and what secrets will be unearthed. Emanuela Orlandi was just a 15-year-old girl living in Vatican City, and something really creepy happened to her back in 1983. Emanuela was on her way home from a flute lesson in Rome and was running late. She asked her brother Pietro for a ride, but he couldn't take her because of other stuff he had to do. Little did he know how much he would regret that decision later. Anyway, after her class, Emanuela called home and told her sister, Federica, that she'd been offered a job by someone from Avon Products. They wanted her to hand out flyers at a fashion show and would pay her a whopping 370,000 lira, around 590 euros, for just 2 hours of work. Sounds like a pretty sweet deal, right? Well, Federica thought it was too good to be true and advised Emanuela not to accept it without talking to their parents first. As Emanuela left school, she discussed the job offer with a couple of her female classmates. They dropped her off at a bus stop right in front of the Palazzo Madama, seat of the Senate, the upper house of the Italian Parliament. That's where things take a really dark turn. Emanuela was last seen around 7:30 p.m. at that bus stop, accompanied by another girl. And here's the chilling part, nobody knows who that girl was. She's never been identified. Her family got really worried when she didn't show up that night, and they started searching for her in the area between the Vatican and the music school she attended. By the next morning, Emanuela was officially declared missing. 3 days later, the phone rang, and a person claiming to be a 16-year-old boy named Pier Luigi spoke. He said that he and his fiancée had seen Emanuela in Piazza Navona that very afternoon. This Pier Luigi gave all these eerie details, mentioning her flute, her hair, and even a pair of glasses she didn't like wearing. It sounded like he was describing the missing girl perfectly. According to him, Emanuela had just gotten a haircut and introduced herself as Barbarella. And get this, she claimed to have run away from home and was selling Avon products. Then, on June 28, another mysterious caller came forward. This guy called himself Mario and said he owned a bar near Ponte Vecchio. Someone would come forward with information. On July 3rd, during his Angelus address, Pope John Paul II made a chilling appeal to the people responsible for Emanuela Orlandi's disappearance. That's when things got real. For the first time, the official hypothesis of kidnapping was put out there. It was like a dark cloud hanging over the entire situation. And just 2 days later, the Orlandi family started receiving phone calls from an anonymous guy with a creepy American accent. Let's call him the American for now. This guy claimed to represent a terrorist organization and dropped a bombshell of a demand. He said they had Emanuela Orlandi captive and wanted Mehmed Ali Akka, the man who shot the Pope back in 1981, to be set free in exchange for her release. To make matters worse, the American played a recording of Emanuela's voice over the phone to prove that he had her. The anonymous caller even mentioned those previous phone calls from Mario and Pierluigi, saying they were members of the organization. Then, on July 6th, the American decided to make his demands public. He reached out to the ANSA news agency and revealed that they wanted the Pope to get involved in the next 20 days. He even claimed that there would be proof in a wastebasket near the Italian Parliament. The proof was supposed to be copies of Emanuela's music school ID card, tuition receipt, and a handwritten note from the kidnapped girl herself. 2 days later, a man with a supposed Middle Eastern accent called one of Emanuela's classmates. He claimed to have the girl in his clutches and gave them a chilling ultimatum. They had 20 days to make the exchange with Akka. He even demanded a direct phone line with Cardinal Agostini Casaroli, the Vatican's Secretary of State. In total, the American made 16 phone calls from different public phones, keeping everyone on edge. Despite years of investigations, nobody has ever discovered the true identity of the American. It's like he vanished into thin air, leaving nothing but unanswered questions and a trail of terror. On July 17th, following the kidnappers' instructions, an audio cassette was discovered near the ANSA offices. What was on it? Well, it seemed to be a recording of a girl being tortured. The police, however, claimed they didn't believe the victim was Emanuela Orlandi, but her brother has expressed doubts about their conclusion. And here's where things get even murkier. A former DIGOS agent named Antonio Asciore who found and listened to the cassette, came forward with a shocking revelation. He claimed that the recording given to the family and later published was not the original one he found. The original recording was longer, and he could even hear a male voice in the background. To support his claims, the original police transcription of the recording mentioned the presence of male voices. It's like someone had tampered with the evidence or faked it altogether. On August 4, 1983, the ANSA received a written statement from an organization calling themselves the Turkish Anti-Christian Liberation Front, or simply Turkesh for short. They claimed to be holding Emanuela Orlandi and demanded the release of Akka. What's eerie is that Turkesh sent a total of 7 letters between August 1983 and November 1985, sharing chilling details about Emanuela's private life. They even mentioned the number of moles on her back. It's like they had an intimate knowledge of her, adding a terrifying level of authenticity to their claims. To make matters even more haunting, in October 1983, Turkesh released a statement claiming responsibility for the disappearance of Mirella Gregori, who had gone missing in Rome prior to Orlandi's vanishing. The cases were linked in the public consciousness, and Italian President Sandro Pertini made a heartfelt plea for the release of both girls. Fast forward to 1997, when the first investigation into the Orlandi case was dismissed due to a lack of new evidence. But then, in 2013, something eerie happened. Pope Francis, just days after his election, met with the Orlandi family. During their encounter, he uttered these haunting words: "Emanuela is in heaven." It was a chilling implication of the girl's death. The family saw this as a clear sign that the Vatican knew something about what had happened to Emanuela, despite their denial of involvement. And in a shocking turn of events, in 2022, all fingers point directly at Enrico Renatino De Pedì, the notorious boss of the Magliana band, a criminal gang in Rome. De Pedì was tight with Monsignor Pietro Vergari, so much that when De Pedì was gunned down in Rome, Vergari accorded him the incongruous honor to be buried in the crypt. Salvatore Sarnataro revealed that his mafioso son Marco had confessed to being involved in the operation to follow and kidnap Emanuela Orlandi under Pedì's orders. This chilling revelation came to light while both father and son were locked up in jail on drug charges. Marco even mentioned that he had received a courtesy reward from De Pedì, a shiny Suzuki motorcycle. This crucial testimony was given back in 2008. However, it has only recently come to light thanks to the investigative journalism of the newspaper La Repubblica. Aside from the political theory that suggests Emanuela was kidnapped to release Akka, some think that Emanuela's kidnapping might be connected to the death of Roberto Calvi, known as God's banker because of his close ties to the Vatican. Allegedly, Calvi was in charge of laundering mafia money with his own bank, Banco Ambrosiano, for Pope John Paul II, who needed to unofficially finance the Polish political movement Solidarity in a bid to contribute to the fall of communism. A third theory is explored in the Netflix documentary, where a school friend claims Emanuela Orlandi was sexually assaulted by a priest close to the Pope.
Allora, votiva pure insieme se li portava a letto, se li portava, non li portava all'interno del Vaticano. Quando è diventata una cosa che ormai era diventata una schifezza, il segretario di Stato ha deciso di intervenire.
Despite police investigations and countless witnesses, to date, the fate of Emanuela Orlandi remains unknown. In a chilling twist, in January 2023, the Vatican made an announcement that they have decided to reopen the perplexing cold case. Alessandro Didi, the newly appointed head prosecutor by Pope Francis, will now take charge of this long-dormant investigation. As part of this relentless pursuit for answers, investigators will tirelessly re-examine every file, document, report, and testimony associated with the case. No stone will be left unturned this time. Italy's lower house jumped on the bandwagon too. They formed a special parliamentary commission to investigate the disappearances of both Emanuela Orlandi and Mirella Gregori. Will justice finally prevail?